Good afternoon, lads. So today is, September the 1st. So happy September to all of you people who celebrate that sort of thing. Last episode we did cover how sand and gravel and those sort of... all the gravity affected blocks basically work. And which ones you can use to shoot a wall. So today we're going to be actually tackling the problem of shooting these blocks, and I'll sort of show you how to time it out in the one stacker that I have here. So this is just going to be an upgrade of the one stacker that I had in episode 6? This is going to be episode 8, I think. So what we're going to do is we're just going to leave the main frame of the one stacker, but we're just going to change two things. If this doesn't work, I will change it back and I will just run you through everything that I'm doing, but this should work. So first of all, I'm going to replace the ladder there with a trapdoor. So what the trapdoor is going to do is it's going to give this TNT a much lower arc, because the TNT is going to be sitting on top of the trapdoor. TNT is going to be sitting right next to it in the water there, and it's going to get shot down really low. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. The second thing is I'm going to add a piston in. So in order to shoot the sand, we do need to turn it into an entity first. Last video I did discuss how you can do that, and one of those ways is pushing it with a piston. So another big reason why I have a trapdoor here is so that this TNT will actually be able to fall further. So if I had a ladder here instead, and we look at like the size of a ladder, the sand is going to fall to here, it's going to solidify, and then we're going to get a very high sort of angle from our power here. We don't really want that. We want to be just shooting it low and flat for the time being. So we are going to use this trapdoor here, and that's just going to give it more time to fall down lower and then get shot forwards. So now that we have that, we are going to wire this up. So the big problem that most people have with this sort of cannon here is actually timing out this sand. So when we're initially timing it out, I'm actually not even going to have the hybrid on at all. So what we're going to do is we're just going to mark out a nice little row of repeaters here. So we'll just wrap this all the way around. I don't really care how neat this cannon is. It's a one stacker. No one really cares. So I'm just going to run the repeaters there. So 1, 2, 3. I'll do about 9 repeaters to start off with, and I'll explain why in a second. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you will recall in one of the earlier episodes, I believe it was episode 4, where I was talking about TNT, it has a fuse length of 40 redstone ticks. So it'll take 4 seconds to explode. So we don't want to push this sand out instantly. We want to push it forwards just before this explodes here. So since I'm just going to trial and error this, and I don't really have any like concrete timings for this cannon yet, I'm building this basically all off by heart. We're going to go approximately, I think, 36 ticks after this booster goes off, or 36 ticks after this power goes off, sorry. So we'll need to account for that. So if we count this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 repeaters. Each of these is 4 ticks in duration, so it's going to be 40 ticks. Now, you might wonder why I'm not using 36 ticks, and that's because we have this repeater here, and I wired this off the booster. So off the booster, this is 40 ticks. But with the power's taking 4 ticks to go off, because I do have these two 4-tick repeaters here. So I've actually, while there is 40 ticks from the button going to that piston there, I've only got 36 ticks from the power. So this is going to be a recurring theme in these videos. You're going to need to learn to count. Hard for all those people that haven't completed school whatsoever. But if you have a decent knowledge of which numbers go in which order, then you should be pretty much right. So now what we're going to do is we have this set to 36 ticks. We're going to fire, and we're going to watch it very closely. So when it pushes, oh wow, actually just nailed that. Well, that worked first try. I didn't actually expect that to work, but apparently 36 ticks with this setup will work. So some other things you can do. I did absolutely nail this first try. Some things that you can do though is you can try screwing around with the timings a little bit. So say we're going to up that to 37 ticks. So you should see that it's just going to push and it's going to explode a little bit higher. Yeah, you can see that the sand is about like halfway between those two blocks there when it fires. And if we up it to 38 ticks, it'll be higher again. But since we want a nice low and flat velocity here, we're actually going to go with this 36 tick setup. So we go back to this and we fire it again. Should see that that is super low down. That's exactly what we want. From here, what we're going to do is we are going to wire up our scatter. So you can see that we're not actually destroying this wall with a piece of sand. We do need that TNT inside the sand to put a nice little hole in the wall. So we're just going to wire this scatter up. Now, I'm not going to do 4 ticks here. The reason why I'm not going to do 4 ticks is we actually need to wait for this sand to fall here. So once this hits the wall and it starts dropping, if we have this going off too early, it's going to explode before the sand turns from an entity back to a solid block. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to put a piece of redstone here. Now, when we power that piece of redstone, it's going to soft power this block, which in turn will power that, as well as power that. So we're just going to run a repeater into that piece of redstone there. And we'll settle for maybe, let's do 5 full repeaters. 5. Now, this is 20 ticks after your power. So that's 36 ticks after the power, because we're powering both from here, but you need to take into account this 4 tick repeater going into that. And this is 20 ticks off the power, because we just have the repeaters running straight from the power into this scatter here. So we're going to fire it again. We're just going to see if it works. Oop. Okay. So we've run into a bit of an issue here. Now that issue is to do with like the physics of the game. So in a very, very quick nutshell, basically what's happening is this TNT isn't getting its Y velocity cancelled out. I'll explain all of this later. But for the most part, I actually don't have enough power here because it's not hitting this block, it's not cancelling the Y velocity. So what we're going to do here instead is we're going to replace that slab there, and we're just going to replace it with a, well, not a slab, sorry, a trapdoor. We're going to replace it with a ladder. Now, since I've replaced that, I'm going to need to retime this sand. So I'm going to break my scatter just so we're timing the sand. I'm not going to worry about timing the scatter for the time being. Okay, so you can see 36 ticks there, and the sand is solidifying there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bump that up to 37 ticks. So that's now 37 ticks. Let's have a look. Boom. 37 ticks does work. So, I'm going to hook up the scatter again, and we're going to see if that works now. Look at that. A nice little hole here. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. So, this cannon will be pretty limited by range. This is not going to be a particularly long range cannon, but if you're just trying to look into getting into like a little obby box or something, just use something like this. Where did it fire to? Shot to about here. It's only like 5 chunks or something. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe about 6 chunks, just under 6 chunks of range on this cannon here. So again, it's not perfect, but you need to start somewhere. So this is going to be like your little starting point before we start getting bigger. So after this cannon, I'm going to probably cover concrete in depth, and we'll make a concrete cannon for, I think it'll be episode 10. So episode 10, we'll be making a concrete cannon, and I'm going to be wiring that differently from this. Because concrete, you do need more power, but I will explain that a bit later. So, before I do end this video, I'll just run very, very quickly through Lightmatica again. Because we don't really need this sand in the skem, what we're going to do is we're going to lower that to the highest point of the cannon, just so we don't need an unnecessarily large skem. So, go M, Area Editor. I'm going to move both of these to my foot. And you can see that is in the top front left corner. So it's at the very, very top. Nothing's above that. And now what we're going to do is, because we actually have that row of redstone there, I got a row of redstone here, we're going to take the stem to me here. So you should see now I've got a nice little box. You can see it's a bit larger than this original cannon here, just due to the presence of the piston and these extra repeaters around the edge. But for the most part, that's pretty much it. So this will be your very, very first cannon that can actually break a warded wall. This will work against lava walls as well. I didn't actually cover this in the last episode, but it will break lava walls as well. Often with obsidian walls, you might need to take multiple shots against the obsidian wall, and you might need to actually turn the scatter off to stack sand a bit higher, to hybrid a bit higher sometimes for your obsidian walls. If you do inevitably like fuck around with this cannon a little bit, you will find that issue out firsthand. But apart from that, for the most part, this will be a nice little solid one stacker for you to practice on. So if you have any problems with this cannon or you need any help, my Discord is always open for the most part. Not accepting morons in my DMs. But yeah, pretty much that's it. And yeah, concrete for next time. So I'll catch you all in the next video.